Okay, Torah Or, Pashas Vayera, page Yudalid, first column. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe is explaining that Chesed is Antu Chakim V'lei B'chochmi Yediyah means that Chochma Vatzilis is not actually Chochma. It's not B'chochmi Yediyah. It's only the source of Chochma. And like he gave a mushroom, when you plant an apple seed in the ground, you plant an apple seed in the ground, so the sweetness of the apple is not at all existing in the seed that you plant in the ground. It takes the seed of the ground plus the koach hatzmeach, the power of vegetation in the earth, and then out comes an apple tree. But nevertheless, the apple seed is the source of the sweetness of the apple, but it's not actually a tangible source of sweetness. So he says, it's not part of the Yud Tzviris. It goes on Kesi, lo amamutza ben amaitzel netzolim. She'ein arechel of cloud, there's no connection to it whatsoever. Kischavis, okay, this is where we left off. Kischavis chochma mi'a kesem. Because like the Pasuk says, a chochma ma'ayin timotzei. Chochma is yesh mi'ayin. So what's the ayin keser? It doesn't come like say that is shtalshlis, which is ilo va'olu and yesh mi'yesh. Seichel and midas are ilo va'olu, cause and effect. Midas are based on the seichel. Seichel dictates midas. Here we're saying chochma is mi'ayin timotzei. Chochma is not shtalshlis from keser. It's actually yesh mi'ayin. V'inei b'chol ha'elam esad tzilas b'ri yitzir nasiya yesh b'chinas ketza mamutza. Just take from Atzilus to higher than Atzilus. Okay? Chochma is yesh mi'ayin. The same thing, there's from Atzilus to Bria, there's a keser. From Bria to Yitzira, there's a keser. From Yitzira to Asiya, there's a keser. That level of keser is an intermediary, the mamutza, between the higher world and the lower world. Ki malchus da Atzilus. Like it says in the expression Chassidus in Kabbalah, malchus of Atzilus becomes the keser of Bria. Malchus of Bria becomes the keser Yitzira, and so on. So he says like this. Keser, higher than Chochma of Atzilus, keser over Atzilus, is Chochma comes from the yesh mi'ayin. But there's a keser in each world. He says the keser in each world, though, is different than the keser between Atzilus and keser. Why? Hafish ben keser Atzilus and keser b'chol ha'ilm is ki esav is Atzilus. The creation of the emanation, to use the correct word. The emanation of Atzilus is Aidei Tzimtzum or Ein Sof. Is through limiting Elokus. Lies Makom Pani v'chol mamish. He says like this, like we learned many times, there's different levels of tzimtzum. There's a level of tzimtzum, you just lower something a little bit lower. Okay? That means a teacher is smarter than the student, than the kid. So the teacher has to limit his seichel to come into the level of the kid. That's one type of tzimtzum. But then you have another level of tzimtzum that's called makom panui, which is the concept similar to the tzimtzum, which is really tzimtzum arishin. There's another level of tzimtzum when you have a super brilliant genius, and now he wants to teach little kids. But his brilliance is so great, you're going to cut it in half, it's still way over their heads. You cut it into a million pieces, way over. It's like infinite. So what does the brilliant teacher need to do? He needs, so to speak, to temporarily not forget that he doesn't remember it. He basically forgets whatever he knows, and then he restarts again a new level of seichel on the kid's level. Because if it's too great, you can't even a little bit, to make it a little bit less, it's still way over their heads. Because it's be'ein arech. It's not erech when you have cause and effect, ila va'olu. So then, because they're connected, you lower the cause, you get less effect. A lower level of effect. Tzimtzum arishin, because Hashem had this Like it says at the beginning of Eitz Chaim, we learned this many times. When Hashem wanted to create the world, there was a revelation of the infinite level of godliness. It's literally an infinite revelation of godliness. And there was no allowance for worlds to exist. Because when you have a revelation of infinite, finite cannot exist. Because it's a contradiction. Finite revelation, so you can't have when you have an infinite revelation, you can't have a finite existence. So therefore, what does it say? What does it say? The Eitz Chaim writes, "Sila kasatzmi kaviyachol al atzad." Hashem removed himself, okay, and then he re-revealed. It's called the Kav, which is a limited revelation of Elokus. In other words, Hashem has an infinite power and a finite power. Hashem is infinite and finite. Okay, he could do both. Hashem sheyesh lekerech bilti b'gvul, kach yesh lekerech b'gvul. Just like it's from Kabbalah. Just like Hashem has the infinite power, he has a finite power. But when infinite is revealed, then you can't reveal the finite. So Hashem removed himself. Now the Rebbe explains, it doesn't mean removing himself, the non-existent, because Elokus can't non-exist. What it means is, like the teacher, he doesn't not know it anymore, this brilliance on his level. He still knows it. But he removed it from being revealed to the kid, because he's way above it. So what did he do? He has to temporarily, not that he forgets it doesn't exist, he just doesn't reveal it. And then, because once he's revealing his seichel, it's infinite. So he has to remove the seichel. Again, removal, the Rebbe explains, doesn't mean, God forbid, it doesn't exist, because that can't be. It means he's not revealing it, and because he's not revealing, now there's an ability for the Koyach HaGvul to reveal. So the Rebbe is, even though it's not really Tzimtzum Rishon, the Rebbe is saying, Atzilus, from higher than Atzilus, the Tzimtzum is, let's call it Makom Ponui, it's removal. The Kesser between each world is just a limited form, it's not the same way. He says like this, Ki Yesavus Atzilus, the emanation of Atzilus, is Aidei Tzimtzum, or Ein Sof, the Makom Ponui, V'cholu Mamash, to be an empty, it's Me'ayim Timotze. And the creation of Bria Yitzir Nasiya is Aidei Parsa, is through a curtain Amafsik Bein Atzilus Bria, between Bria Yitzira and not a Makom Ponui. Meaning like this: from Atzilus to Bria, there is no what's called Makom Ponui. There's no empty spot. What it is, I mean, again, it's a ruchniistic thing, but in Gashmi it's like a mashal. Hashem puts up a curtain. Okay? So you have this unbelievable revelation, but now you have a curtain. So the light on the other side of the curtain is not less, it's a completely different type of a light. Okay? If you have a light on the table, the closer you are to the light, you have more light. The further you are away from the light, you have less light. But it's the same light, more and less. But if you put a blanket over the light on the other side of the blanket is not the same light, just a little bit less. It's a completely different type of a light. It's a completely different type of a light. See, that's what he said, between Atzilus and Bria, there's a curtain. Between Atzilus and higher than Atzilus is not a parsa. It's actually a Makom Ponui. Because it's a greater difference, it's self-understood. World is still a world. Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya are still worlds. So when one world to the nether world, to the next world, is still in the realm of worlds. So it's not such a big separation. Between non-world and world, higher than Atzilus, where there's no Eilamis, there's no worlds, from higher than Atzilus, to Atzilus is a much greater separation and change than it is from Atzilus to Bria to Yitzir and Asiya.
And the Parsa is a different revelation of Elok Hashem?
Yes. That means Bria, relatively speaking, to Atzilus is Yesh Mi'ayin. But it's not the same yesh miyayin as Atzilus from higher. Because this is still world from world. This is world from non-world. What?
This is Atzilus within Machshava?
In?
Machshava.
No, it's higher than Machshava. Bria Yitzay Nasiyah Machshava Dibra Meis. This is higher than Machshava. Bria is Machshava. To understand the difference between Parsa and Malkum Panoi, Yuv and Behegdim, Inyan Tzimtzum, Ber Sof. We need first to understand the concept of Tzimtzum. What does that mean? Kihine, Ein Sof. Haino, Vegilui. Leah says, is Pash, this is Savas, Marker, Vachayas, Ein Sof, Shabbat Smusai. Because Ein Sof, what does Ein Sof mean? Odd, which is Ein, well, there's two definitions, Chassidus says. When you have always the expressions Odd, Ein Sof, it can mean two things. Either Odd, which is Ein Sof, or from Ein Sof. Odd Ein Sof can mean the Odd of Ein Sof, or it can mean Or, which is Ein Sof. And both are right, by the way. Because it's Or from Ein Sof, and Or is like the source, so it's Ein Sof. Vagilia says is pasht is savas marke v'chayisor shatzmusi is barach, which is Or is a revelation. Hainu b'china zush yesh ba'or li'es meir u'mispashet lavis alachis. Or means a level of elokus, which is revealing. It reveals it. V'zel kaidem shenivra ilam. This is what we say. It says before nivra ilam, before the world was created. Hayahu Shmei Bilvad. Says in Kabbalah the expression, Hayahu Shmei Bilvad. It was only Hashem and His name, meaning revelation. Ushmei, what is name? Ein Sof Shabbat Smusay. The revelation of Elokus within Hashem, which is Shmei, which is Gilui, Mashi Yochali is Megalum Ispashit. That it has the ability to be revealed. I'm going to say it next few, I'll explain it. Like Ziv Shemesh Ma'Shemesh, like the ray of the sun that comes from the sun. Haziv Or Sheyesh Ba'Shemesh Or Eretz. And the Shemesh itself is Guf HaShemesh. And therefore the Or that leaves the sun is called Or. The way is like this. You have the sun, okay? Now the sun has light in it. If Elokus, if the sunlight could shine 93 million miles away, it definitely exists in the sun. But that Gilui in the sun of Or is not Or. Because when you look at the sun, the thing that exists there is the sun. Light only exists when it leaves the sun. In the sun, it's there, but it's not sun. I'm sorry, but it's not odd. It's sun. So what does it mean? The light that's in the sun has the ability to shine outside of the sun. That's the definition of Or. Whereas Hu Ushmei Bilvad means that Gilui that existed, there was no world, there's nowhere to be, where to be Megala that Or. There's no place where to reveal it. Right? So therefore, that level of Elokus means, then Shmei Bilvad means the name of Hashem, the Gilui of Hashem, was one with Hashem. The only thing that existed of Hashem. So what do you mean with Shmei? Shmei means that is the source of light to leave the sun. So what is the source of light that leaves the sun? Because in the sun there's no light. But Shmei, the light that's in the sun, that must exist there because they can shine outside, it has to be inside. But that's only the source of it. It's not actual light.
So
Right.
is the Ein Sof.
Yeah, because Or reveals the source.
But there is no or in the source.
There is Or, that's the potential for Or. No doubt, the Rebbe says, Sheikhut Ramoni, you must say that there's light of the sun in the sun, because if it could shine out of the sun, definitely exists in the sun. But over there, because it's in the source, all you feel is the source. All you feel is the source. So what does it mean there's light in the sun? That level of light that's in the sun, which is bottled to the sun, is the source for light to be able to leave the sun. Chachma Vatzilus is not tangible Chachma. It's the source for Chachma, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, and all the levels of Chachma in the world. So he says like this. V'Hashemesh atmi gufash v'nei ha'or ha'yetzim ha'shemesh. The light that leaves the sun is called Or. Like it says, Vayikra lekim la'or yoim. Shahayim nikra Or. Yoim is called day. Halshem is pashta sarvaziv, because the ray is shining. In other words, like this. The sun is there at night too. The sun doesn't not exist. The sun is there at night. So what's the difference between day and night? The difference between day and night is if the sun is shining the Or or it's not shining the Or. Right? The sun didn't check out of the system. He just conceals itself, right, in the rotation up there. It conceals itself. Now there's no Or. It's called Tzimtzum. And when there's day, that means the sun is shining. That Or is a gili of the sun. Mashenkin atzmis shemesh. The shemesh itself is not called Or. It's called Ma'or. Vayikra Elokim la'or yoim. Yoim means gili, right? Revealing. Or is a gili. Ma'or is not a gilui. Ma'or is the source of the gilui.
Ziv is a Ma'or.
No. Ziv is Or. The source of the Ziv is called Ma'or. The sun, in other words, the sun doesn't shine down here. The light of the sun shines down here. It's not the sun.
Is there a difference between Ziv and Or?
Ziv, the between Ziv and Or, no, both the same, basically the same.
Could you define the two
What?
definitions of Or?
Louder, what?
The two definitions of Or and Sof that you said at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So one is light.
One is that the light is Ein Sof, and one is the light of Ein Sof. Same thing, because it's just how you're defining the words.
But the Or down here is Or, but the Or in the Ma'or is Batu.
The sun is not down here.
The light of the sun down here is a light.
Yeah, but not the sun.
Correct. But the light,
But the light that we have down here, the source of it is the sun, but the sun is not here.
but the light that is down here in the sun is Batu. It's nothing.
Correct. So what is that light in the sun? What is the sun? The source of light, but it's not light. Antu chakim v'lei b'chachma yadiyah means that level of chachma is you are the source of chachma, but you're not chachma. V'lei b'chachma yadiyah.
If there's no Ma'or, there's no.
Yeah. No.
So the Ma'or, the Or
Is the sun down here?
No.
What's down here?
Right of the sun.
The ray of the sun. Is it the sun?
No.
It's revealing the sun. The sun is the source of that light that comes out of it.
Are we playing with words?
No. Because we're saying that
We can only see the source, light of sun. And so
is the sun shining now?
Yes.
How do you know? Do you see the sun right now?
Is it part of the sun?
No. Do you see the sun?
But I see this effect of the sun, which is light.
Okay, so you see the effect of the sun, but not the sun. Is the light in this room sunlight? Okay, but you're right, it's sunlight, yeah, because there's windows. But this light is not sunlight. You look at the room, you can tell if it's sunlight, if it's moonlight, if it's big lights, small lights, you can tell. You don't even look at you don't have to look up and say, oh, there's the bulbs. If there's light in this room, there's bulbs, right? Are the bulbs the light? No, the bulbs give light. The bulbs give light. The bulbs are not light. The sun is not light. The sun is sun. Ma'or. Ma'or does not mean light. Ma'or means the source of light. Why is the Rebbe? Let's just v'cheinu burns of 3 lines in the end of the first column of Yudal. V'kachu burns sha'or anikr gilishim is pashi bimenu. His avos are v'chayis. Ve'ein tov ba'atzmei. Or Ein Tov is the or of Ein Tov. But Ein Tov itself is called Ma'or, Shu Makar Ha'or, which is the source of light, and light comes from that. Chochma Vatzilis, Antu Chakam, meaning it's the source of Chochma. V'lei b'Chochma Yediyah, Eliyahu Navi says. It's not revealed, tangible Chochma. It's the source of Chochma. Because from Atzilus from above Atzilus to Atzilus is a greater change than from Atzilus to Bria to Yitzir and Asiyah. Because again, those 4 worlds. Those 4 worlds. Higher than Atzilus, there is no world. I mean, there are, but generally speaking, there are no worlds. If there's no worlds, then the change from higher than Atzilus to Atzilus is Yesh Miyayin.
Then how could it be a source of something, and that something not exist in a source?
That's exactly what he gave the mashal before. Right. The apple seed. The apple seed is an apple?
Yes.
No. You eat it, this doesn't taste at all like an apple. It doesn't look like an apple. It doesn't taste like an apple.
It's part of apple.
No, it's not.
It's part of apple. It's from apple.
Yeah, but now you have the seed. That's what the Rebbe gave that mashal before. The seed or the Torah Halamish. By the way, the seed in the ground is a more tangible mashal of source than the flintstones being the source of fire. Because the seed has some apple in it, but it's potential for an apple. When you take an apple seed, yeah, and eat it, if you could eat it, whatever, but you eat it, it doesn't have it doesn't have the tangibility of the apple. It doesn't feel like an apple. It doesn't look like an apple. It doesn't taste like an apple. So what connection is it to an apple? It's the source of the apple. It's a pretty strong connection. A parent is the source of the child. The parent is not the child. Could be not looking, acting, nothing. So the Alter Rebbe's mashal of Chochma Vatzilas, by the way, is the mashal of an apple seed, or yeast seed, whatever the seed, I just said apple seed. But because that is a source, but it's more tangible source than fire from the flintstone. Because here you can put the stone in the water for 100 years. It still won't extinguish the source. The apple seed, you can destroy it. So even though it's no apple, it's the source of the apple, but even in the source of the apples, you have different sources.
One is potential, the other one is yes.
correct.
You said higher than Atzilus is no world.
Officially never.
So what's the
Worlds begin in Atzilus. Then you have the four Eilemis Klolim.
What's the definition of the world? I mean, it's all Ruchni.
You have Ruchni is different definitions. A more Gilui is higher, less Gilui is less.
What does it mean if it's a world? Atzilus is the world.
There's 10 levels. There's 10 levels. There's Or, there's Kalim, there's Heicholis, there's chambers. It's a spiritual world. Higher than Atzilus, there's no 10 spheres. I mean, Chassidus and Kabbalah say, Livnei Atzimtzum is Atzilus, and then you have Ak is Bria, and then the Kudim and the Kudim and Brudim is Yitzira, and Atzilus is Asiyah Kloli. Okay, so everything is relative, but officially, worlds begin in Atzilus. What does it mean, a world? What Helam is it? What Atzilus, Hatzalah V'Afrash, like he said, is removal, a separation, because now there's 10 levels, and not 11, and there's 10 and not 9. So there's a limitation that is 10 levels. But each level in Atzilus is Bligvul. So Chacham is Bligvul, and Bina is Bligvul, Chesed is Bligvul, Tiferet is Bligvul, they're all Bligvul.
When it gets to Bria, it becomes to Yesh.
It becomes Yesh Miyayin. It becomes much more tangible. Because now, the light, the parsa, the curtain, the blanket over the light, makes it in a way that it's a different type of a light. And therefore it can come down, a person can understand it or handle it much better. Even in sunlight, yeah? You can have clouds block the sun officially, yeah? But you can have thin clouds, you can have thicker clouds. Sometimes it gets so dark, like in hurricane weather, right? It's so dark, but at night, it's dark during the day as it is by night. Now, the sun didn't change. The Gilui of the sun didn't change. Go above the clouds. Post the clouds, it's not because the sun was affected by the sun is not affected by the clouds, by the parsa. The light itself doesn't change if you put a blanket over it or not. The change is only for the outsiders looking at it. You can have a very thick cloud, okay, it makes it dark, yeah? The sun doesn't change. The only change is for the observers looking at it, they don't see the sun. The parsa, the curtain between Atzilus and Bria, doesn't change Atzilus in any way whatsoever. It's the person outside Atzilus, like the blanket over the bulb, right? The bulb doesn't change. If I go behind a curtain and hide, I'm not hidden from myself. I'm hidden from you. But I don't change. So what does this curtain do? It changes my connection to you, not my connection with myself. Now, if you think